This is the Gem of the Orient. It is, for all intents and purposes, a $3 million knife. This is a $25,000 knife. Now, you might think the story of knife ownership is how you get from here to here, but you'd be wrong. Your journey, my journey, our journey, it begins here with a $1 disposable box cutter.
This isn't a knife. It's an abstract concept. It is the physical manifestation of the verb to cut. It is an object of profound honesty. It has one job, to be sharp. And it does this job perfectly, with a surgically thin blade that no expensive knife can ever match. When it becomes dull, it is not sharpened. It is simply replaced. There is no sentimentality, no attachment. It is pure, unadulterated utility. It has unbeatable value, but zero personality. It is the beige Toyota Corolla of the knife world. You don't love it, you don't hate it, you just use it, abuse it, and eventually you lose it. But you're a little older now. You've outgrown disposable things. You want a tool with character, with a story. You want the Opinel No. 8. For $19, you're not just buying a knife, you're buying a piece of France. This is a design icon that has remained fundamentally unchanged for over a century. It was a peasant's knife, a farmer's tool, and the sculpting blade used by Pablo Picasso. It is both humble and profound. You learn about its high-carbon steel that takes a razor edge but rusts if you look at it wrong, a feature you now call patina. You master the simple genius of its ViroBlock locking ring, a piece of rotating metal that feels both primitive and perfect. This is your entry ticket into knife culture. You are now a person of taste. The Opinel was charming, but it was French. You now crave something more robust. Something with American DNA. You want the knife your grandfather carried. You want the Buck 110. This is not a delicate tool for cheese and wine. This is a folding slab of brass and 420 HC steel. It's a symbol of rugged individualism. So heavy it feels like it could stop a bullet. This knife is a historical landmark. Released in 1964, it was so revolutionary that its lockback mechanism became the generic term for the design. For decades, any competitor's folding knife was simply called a buck knife. It's an icon, but it's also heavy. You have to open it with two hands, and after a while you start to notice something. The nostalgia is great, but it's not very efficient. And that's exactly when you transition into your Apple Watch moment, because you're a young professional now. You can't be seen carrying a single-purpose antique your grandpa used. You need productivity. You need a multi-tool. You need the Leatherman Wave Plus. This is no longer a knife. It is a toolbox for your belt. It has pliers, wire cutters, screwdrivers, a can opener, a bottle opener. It has everything. You feel prepared, efficient, optimized. But then, a quiet dissatisfaction sets in. The pliers are pretty good. The screwdrivers are okay. The can opener works. And the knife blade? It's just fine. In trying to be everything, you realize it's not exceptional at any one thing. It's a sterile slab of utility. It has no soul. You have fallen into the practicality trap, and the only way out is to spend more money. So you do your research. You watch hours of YouTube looking for something that looks like a real knife, since you no longer need sterile utility nor pliers. And then, you land on the gateway drug to the modern knife world, the Spyderco Paramilitary 2. Suddenly, you're fluent in a new language. You talk about the iconic Spidey hole for its rapid one-handed deployment. You learn about the grippy texture of G10 scales. You master the fidget-friendly genius of the compression lock. You now understand that a knife's primary purpose is not to cut things, but to be repeatedly opened and closed while you're on a Zoom call. This is called the fidget factor, and it is now 80% of your purchasing decision. But that's before you realize that even though the PM2 was perfect, it's also common. You need to differentiate, you need to elevate. You need the Rolex Submariner of knives, the Chris Reeves Sebenza. The Sebenza is a masterpiece of minimalist engineering. There are no flashy design elements. There is only perfect execution. You learn about its legendary bank vault lockup, its obsessive microscopic tolerances. This knife represents a philosophical shift. It was originally built for serious users who needed a folding knife that felt as strong as a fixed blade. But its perfection turned it into a luxury icon. It used to be that you were a serious user, so you bought a Sebenza. Now you buy a Sebenza in hopes of becoming a serious user. You experience the unique anxiety of carrying a $500 tool, a constant, low-grade fear of the first scratch. It has transitioned from a tool for the elite to a status symbol for the aspirational. And a few moons later, you have now ascended to a level of wealth that can only be described as extravagant, abrasive, and dangerous. In your eyes now, production knives, even the Sebenza, are for the masses. You now commission art from hermit-like artisans who have a 6-year waiting list. You no longer talk about S30V, you talk about Damascus steel forged from a meteorite that fell in Sweden in 1906. You don't want G10, you want the iridescent blue ivory from a 10,000-year-old woolly mammoth tusk. You admire mechanisms, like the Lake-style inner frame folder, that are functionally obsolete but hypnotically beautiful to watch. The knife is now a sculpture. You display it on a stand. For the price of this knife, you could have bought a reliable used car. But a Toyota Camry doesn't have a soul, or mammoth ivory. This is all slightly absurd, but maybe that's the point. From here, there's nowhere else to go than the very tippity top. And in the knife world, there's no other top that tops this. This is the Jacob & Company billionaire moment. This is not a knife. It is a statement of pure, uncut opulence. This is Buster Werensky's The Gem of the Orient. Werensky was a legend, one of the greatest knife makers of the 20th century. This was his Sistine Chapel. The handle is solid jade inlaid with 24-karat gold. It is encrusted with 153 diamonds. It is adorned with 9 massive gem-quality emeralds. It took 10 years to make, and it is a dagger, a weapon, an object of violence rendered in the most precious and beautiful materials on earth. It is the ultimate expression of value. But there is a twist. Beneath the $3 million of jewels and gold, there's a blade. It is made of steel. Its fundamental, primal purpose is to cut, but its value ensures it will never be used for anything. It will never open a box. It will never sharpen a pencil. It will never feel the resistance of any material, ever. The world's most expensive knife has been rendered functionally useless by its own worth. The $1 box cutter you started with is infinitely more of a knife than this is. The truth is, a knife can be a toy, a tool, a status symbol, and a work of art. The definition changes as you do, but the object, a sharpened piece of metal, remains the same. It's all about the progression. Don't jump out the window right off the bat.